Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, December 17th regular meeting of the Sachem Board of Education. Tonight, we've got some special guests that are going to lead us through the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask folks from our American Sign Language students to come up and lead us through the pledge, and please remain standing for our traditional moment of silence. Right in the center.
Did you get one?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Good evening, everybody. Before we start, I just want to wish all of our community members who celebrate a happy Hanukkah. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Trombetta for the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to also wish everyone a happy holiday. It'll be coming before we know it. Time is flying. And we have a lot of things to celebrate here tonight, so I'm going to move on to the student reports right now.
Yeah, at Sachem, Sachem North, we've really been having a great time celebrating the holidays. We kicked off our Holiday Spirit Week on Monday by starting off with a Winter Wonderland Whiteout. It's a 2-hour, which ended up being thematically really perfect because it was right in a 2-hour delay, so everyone was wearing white. And then Tuesday, we had Santa Day, so saw some kids dress up as Santa, a lot of Santa hats. That was great. And then today, which personally probably my favorite, we had Flannel Day. So a lot of our teachers, students, all dressed up in flannels. And so, it's been good so far. And then Thursday, we have our Ugly Sweater Day, which is classic. Friday, our Snow Gear Day. So dress up like it's a big snow gear day. And then finally, Monday and Tuesday for break, we have our Christmas Pajama Day, where also that day, the winning class in the food drive competition will get to head down to the auditorium and watch the Polar Express. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully the seniors win. Looks like they just got a lead recently, so hopefully they can keep it. And then finally on Tuesday for our big volleyball tournament, the freshmen and sophomores will be wearing red and the juniors and seniors will be wearing green to celebrate the holidays. So yeah, and then talking about the volleyball tournament, it's really something in our school we're super excited for. We're looking forward to it. And it's going to be just a great day where each team from each gym class gets to come down and compete for a chance to win the whole thing, get their name on the plaque in the gym. And we're also looking forward to our gym teachers making a team of themselves with some faculty members as well and competing against the all-star team of our students. So we're really excited to see that happen and just excited for the holidays at Sachem North.
Thank you.
Mia is on a family vacation, so she gives her regards and wishes everyone a happy holiday as well. And now we're going to pass it over to Mrs. Sarakis for the budget presentation.
Okay, can you hear me? We're good? Okay, I can't believe it, but we're starting the 26-27 budget development process. So here we go, off and running. Tonight, we're going to give an overview of the budget process. We're going to talk about some of our revenue projections for the tax levy and state aid, and then we're going to review the expenditure categories of debt service, benefits, salaries, and then we'll go over the next steps. So the first thing I want to talk about is the budget development process and when we begin, because I know there has been some talk that we started late. Why do we start in January? Why don't we start the budget process sooner? The budget process actually starts July 1 of the school year, because when we hit the summer, once we close out a school year in the business office, Mr. Saxon and our team in the business office, we're getting ready for our financial statement audit. We're closing out the books. We are opening up a new school year. We're reconciling our accounts, getting ready for the external auditor who presents here in September to come in, present the financial statements. They come in, the auditors, for a week in August. They review all of our reconciling and issue the financial statements. Once they come and present to the board around September, October, we are in the process of uploading all of that financial data to our business portal. And that's the data that drives the state aid figures that happens during the governor's budget. Once all of that data is uploaded to the portal, we hit October and we develop the budget calendar. And that's where we set all of the key dates and deadlines, when we're going to meet with department heads. We look at our salary codes, retirement system contributions. We set all of these things in motion in the fall, working with other departments. The personnel department is busy looking at every staff member to see who we have, who we need, who's moving up a step, over a column, all those projections that have to happen before it comes over to the budget side. Once we have those salary figures, we look at our overtime, our substitutes, what we're going to project for the next year. We calculate our payroll taxes, TRS, the Teachers Retirement System contribution, the Employees Retirement System contribution. All of these things go into those projections. Then we can look at our health insurance. And just so you know, health insurance premiums this year were released on November 24th. So that's when we can start making those projections. And that will be part of tonight's presentation. Debt service, that's just our bond interest and principal. We always have those at the ready. Then we move on to materials and supplies, our BOCES projections, our expenditure-based aids, and then all other expenditures. So it is a lengthy process. We do start early. It's just a lot of behind the scenes before we come out to all of you here on the board and the community. Also part of that budget process is the steps of the budget. You can see here I list that we fund the budget. We look at our state aid, all of our revenues, state aid, tax levy, other revenues, and our reserves and fund balance. Then it moves down to our developing of the budget between salaries, benefits, and contractual obligations. And then there's all other expenditures. Since the tax levy cap, this is the steps that get taken because we are driven by our revenues. It used to be you were driven by your expenditure budget. You looked at all your contractual obligations. You looked at all of your educational priorities. You said, okay, how much are we getting in our state aid figures? And then what do we need to raise with the tax levy? Once the tax levy cap formula went into play in 2012, it got turned upside down. So now we look at what are our revenues? What are our state aid and our tax levy? What are our contractual obligations? What's left? That's what's available for our educational priorities, our facility needs, and all other expenditures. So kind of turn things upside down. And if I'm talking too fast, tell me to take a breath. So going along with funding the budget, I know we have talked about this before, and it has come up, and the board asked me to just elaborate a little bit. Our state aid is derived by the governor, the New York State adopted budget. It's based off of current law and mostly driven by our foundation aid formula. So as an example, in the current school year, state aid is $140 million of our budget. 98 million of that is foundation aid that is derived from a formula that we have no control over. That formula comes from the state. So state aid in total is 36.75% of our current year budget. Then we go down to the tax levy for the current school year at $216 million. That represents 56% of our budget. And again, that is another formula that comes down from the state that the district has no control over. So in total, 93.5% of our budget is dictated to us. The revenues to support our budget are dictated to us by New York State formulas. Does not leave a lot of room for discretionary spending in our budgets. So for other revenues, which are our fees and tuition, rental, interest revenue, things like that, 2.8% of the budget, that was $10.8 million of our current year's budget. And then what makes up the balance of that is our fund balance and reserves. Fund balance and reserves, that's the residual revenue over expenses over all of the prior years. That's our savings. That's similar to in your home. If your expenditures are $2,000 a month, you brought in $3,000 for the month, you have $1,000, you can put that into your savings account. That's what fund balance is for the district. Unfortunately, we are using 3.5% of our budget is fund balance. That's $13.6 million in the current year. That's our savings that we are using to fund our daily operations. So that is something that we've talked about over the last couple of years, and that's something that our auditors have mentioned, and it's something that we need to address going forward. So the property tax formula, we've talked about this. It is a 13-step formula. I'm not going to go through each step right now, but it's a 13-step formula, and there is a misconception that when we say there's a 2% tax cap, when we come out with say a 2.2% tax levy, which is where we are this year, that we're exceeding the cap. We're not exceeding the cap. The 2% portion of this formula is only one step out of 13 steps in this calculation. So you can have different inputs that will put you over that 2%, and you're still considered within the cap, and you're not looking to pierce. So that's something a lot of people have difficulty understanding. So when you go through all of the steps for Sachem, and this is a very preliminary number, this number will change. You start with your current year's tax levy, which is the 216 million at the top, and you multiply it by something called the tax-based growth factor. That's new construction in your community. And for Sachem, for the 26-27 year, we actually saw, for us, what I would consider a significant increase in this factor at 1.0047. So right off the bat, we multiply that by the prior year levy, and now we're starting with $217 million. Then there are the various inputs between our pilots and our capital exclusion, which is our debt service, our transfer to capital items, and then less our building aid. And you factor all of those items down in the formula, and you come down to what our tax levy could be for 26-27. Again, very preliminary because we are still missing some of our inputs. But right now we're looking at a 2.35% increase in the tax levy over the current year, or $5 million. What makes up that? When we look at the formula, the change in the tax-based growth factor is contributing $1 million to our levy this year. Last year, it contributed slightly over $300,000. So we did see quite an increase in that. Our changes in our pilot payments are contributing about $7,500. And then that 2% number, we're assuming right now it's going to be 2% because inflation for the year is above that right now. That's contributing over $4 million to our tax levy, and then a slight decline in our capital exclusion. Any questions on that?
Just, Michelle, that 2% is just a projection.
That's a projection right now. The CPI will come out for December in January, and school districts go on the calendar year change in CPI. So we have to wait until January for that final number, but everything is trending towards greater than that 2%. So we will be at 2% in the formula.
Okay. And that's to say that they don't cut other things like foundation aid or, some of the other stuff that sometimes they give us 2% in additional aid, but then they reduce some other areas of aid.
I'm going to talk about the
Yeah.
state aid because we
Yeah.
do have some preliminary
That's
estimates on that.
Yeah.
So state aid. Right now, the district for foundation aid is on what they call being on the formula. There were many years where districts were held harmless. The formula was not being allowed to what they call run. And in the past 3 years, the governor had agreed to let the formula run. Some districts are on what they call hold harmless, which means you get the same foundation aid that you received in your current year. There's no increase. Last year, we were seeing an increase in our foundation aid, but it was completely offset by reductions in our other aid categories. So we saw a $690,000 increase in state aid, which with a district the size of Sachem, that's less than 1 day's operations. So these figures, again, very, very preliminary. These come from the filing of our financial data with the state. So it's called the November database. Everything was submitted to the state. They shut the database on November 15th. These are the numbers that the governor will start with to build her budget. And that's when those first aid runs will come out at the end of January. But what it looks like right now, using the current law, that we will see an increase in our foundation aid of approximately $4 million, or roughly 4%. It is being offset by reductions in our other aid categories, but not to the effect that we saw in what is now, our current school year. So we are projecting to see an increase of roughly $3 million in our foundation aid. Very preliminary. Again, this is based on current law. Anything can change when the governor releases her preliminary budget. So any questions on that? Okay. Yes.
Do we know why it looks like we're getting a cut in UPK?
I
As a
think
legislative
I think
committee,
that's
am I
just
good?
based on actual what we're using this year based on our enrollment, because again, this is data that the district submitted with our financial filings in October after the books were closed and the audit was complete. So I don't know that it would be an actual reduction. This is just data that's available. So now we're going to get onto our expenditure side, and you can see on the debt service category, we're seeing reductions in all areas of debt service, and that is the serial bonds at the top are going down approximately $188,000. We did a refunding in September, and that lowered our debt service payments going forward. For the tax anticipation notes, two things are happening here. First, interest rates are coming down, so that's working in our favor when we have to go out for a borrowing, but also we did do an updated rating with Standard & Poor's, and that is helping helping the district when we go out for funding. We do see more beneficial rates. And then finally, one of our original energy performance contracts, the lease is fully paid off, so that rolled off our books. So that's why you're seeing a reduction in the debt service categories.
Hey, Michelle, just a question. I think I ask you this every year, but on the bonds, when do they fully come off?
I think I have that.
We have, like-
We have 5 bonds right now. I believe 4 of them come off in the 29-30 year, one in 30-31.
Okay.
And the EPC, I think the second EPC is, I believe,
So
31-32.
about 4 years plus then.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Okay. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, employee benefits. You'll see that this is a very large category because it does cover retirement system contributions, payroll taxes, all of our other employee benefits such as unemployment, workers' comp, disability, dental, all of those things. Most notable here is health insurance. When the premiums came out in November, we were seeing a roughly 8.9% increase across most of the categories. And that resulted in a $5 million increase in health insurance for the district. I'm going to say that again. $5 million increase in health insurance. Health insurance is $50 million of our budget. And that is after we take into account bargaining units that still are doing those paybacks and to help the district. We had that with the SCTA. That's already factoring that in, and it's still $50 million. Yes.
So annually, this district pays $50 million for employee benefits for their health care, right?
Well, 50 million this year, for next year, 45 million this year. Yes.
Okay. And with everything that's going on right now in the news, they have everybody scared thinking that as of January 1st, you're going to see even more increases. But what we've already been told, I mean, this enormous $5 million increase, that's stable, at least for the coming school year.
This is our increase for the 2026 school year.
Okay. No matter what the news tries to tell us.
No,
We're
this
good.
is it.
It's $5 million. It's crazy. Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Michelle, just a question. So 50 million, what's the opt-out number?
The opt-out is on that side there. It's roughly $9.4 million.
So really, we're $59 million for health
For health combined, yes,
Right.
yes. The $50 million is our premium to night
premiums,
ship.
but we paid
Right,
9
but
million
we pay
in
9 million
opt-outs.
in opt-out.
So I'm looking at
Correct.
that as all health
Right,
benefits.
right,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
yes. Any other questions on health, on benefits? Okay. Then we come to salaries. Again, these are preliminary numbers. We just finished pulling in our salary projections this past weekend. So you can see that we're looking at across the entire district a roughly 3.5% increase in our salaries, or roughly $6 million. And that's across everyone, general support, teaching, and our transportation services. Okay. So this is my object chart, and you'll know when we get towards the end of budget, this is completely filled in. But just in these 3 categories, our salaries, our benefits, and our debt service, we are at $302 million. Just to refresh, on our current year 25-26, these same categories total $292 million of our budget, or just under 77% right there in these categories. So Mr. Sachs and I have been working every single day, side by side, working on those projections, and we will be doing that through the whole budget season. The next real main presentation will be on January 21st, where hopefully the state aid runs from the governor have been released. And we'll have a more final number for our tax levy because that needs to be submitted to the comptroller's office by March 1st. So I will ask the board if they're okay. Once we come to that time, are you okay with me submitting whatever that levy is towards the end of January, beginning of February? And then, like I said, Mr. Sachs and I will continue revising our projections as new data is received. Any questions?
Questions from the board? Meredith?
So I'm going to reiterate stuff just to be clear because I get these questions a lot. And so I figure if I say it, maybe people will listen. So basically our salaries across the board, no matter, the lowest paid salary to the highest paid salary, makes up about 77% of our total budget.
Well, well, combined, everything, salary,
Salaries,
and
benefits, yeah, I consider that
Correct,
all
correct.
together. Okay. And again, to let the public know, we have in this district, how many pupils? Like 11,000 and change?
Just shy of 12,000.
Okay. And we have how many employees?
About 2,500.
Okay. So we have the same amount of top level administrators that a neighboring district has the same amount of students that we have employees. So we run our district with the same amount of administrators that another district runs when they have 2,500 students. We have almost 12,000. We have 2,500 employees. So I just want because all my friends and everybody comes to me and says, well, administration, we have the same number of administrators that other places that have the same number of students as we have employees. So imagine running a huge corporation that had 2,500 employees and comparing that to somebody else who runs a corporation that has 10 employees. So I just want to put those things out there because I do get a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and of course, there's always the famous Facebook messages.
And no, Meredith, that's a great point. I mean, people, the community, we're very transparent, but that's a great point you make. So they need to understand that. We run lean and we have a top-notch staff that manages a very complex, large organization.
And if you really broke down the hours that our staff puts in versus what they get paid, they could probably get a 9 to 5 someplace else and, because the hours don't equate to what they put in.
Mike?
Okay, Michelle, this is good because this gets us started now, early in the budget season. But so if I can just recap a little bit in layman's terms what you just told me, if the law is applied as you see it now, between our two biggest contributors to revenue, state aid and the tax levy at cap, at a simple majority cap, we're going to raise $7.9 million more.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
Roughly.
5 million on the levy and about 3.4 million
Right.
on the cap. So
Oh, I think it's
8.4.
I think it's 2.8, right?
No.
Go
I'll
back.
get there.
Five on the levy and 2.8
Well,
fine.
No, 3.4. The 2.8, that takes into account the UPK. UPK is accounted for in our special aid fund. That's
Oh,
not a
different-
general fund.
Right, different than the general fund.
Yeah.
Okay. So 5 and 3, so 8.4 roughly,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the best we can do other than our miscellaneous revenue.
Correct.
You also told us that we used $13.6 million of fund balance and reserves to plug a gap in this year's budget. That 13.6 didn't miraculously appear. It's still there as a whole, right, to fill.
Correct.
Okay. So even with what we could raise through organic growth through the tax levy, we don't fill that gap even. But on top of that, you also just told me that I've got about $10 million more in expenses.
Right.
So the real hole is the 10 plus a 13
Mhm.
minus the 8.
Correct.
Okay. So 10 plus 13 is 23 minus 8. So we got about a $15 million gap to fill. Now, I guess I could ask how we doing with fund balance. I know you have it rolling down. I see it rolling down every week.
So you're talking where we anticipate ending this
Yeah.
year.
And if you don't want to project right now, don't project. But
We'll have starting numbers in January because right now in December, we haven't received all of even our November bills yet. So we've had 2 months really of the school year expenses.
right.
So I mean, obviously, as we get closer to the end of the year, it's more exact, but we do need a couple more months of billing to be
To have
able
an
to do
idea.
that.
You also did not yet project increases in transportation, right? That's
Right, all of those will be
all those
coming.
contractual increases
Mhm.
are going to apply as well. So
Right.
we're going to have a considerable amount of gap to fill somehow,
Yes. Mhm.
right? So this is where let's get this out in the open now, right? We know we had the demographer come, and if we don't want to increase class size and want to continue to run all the programs that we want to run, we're not going to find any savings by closing a building because the recommendation was not to do that. So that option's off the table. So I want the community to know that we've considered all that, and that's not going to happen, right? We're going to continue in the posture that we're in. So that limits again what can be done. It's either revenue or cuts, right? That's what we're going to end up right again. So let's just throw that out there before the holiday season. Let everybody know that this is the predicament we're going to be in.
No, thanks, Mike. Make a good point, and we've been cutting the last couple of years, so we're certainly heading into,
Well,
Choppy waters here.
unfortunately, I think of it like, when someone has diabetes, right, and they don't take care of themselves, they have to amputate a toe, and they learn to live without the toe. Then they amputate the foot, they learn to hobble without the foot. Then they have to take the leg off. And by the time you realize we've cut so much already, I don't think the people today understand what we had just 5-6 years ago.
Right.
Right. So
and our auditors were here back in October, right, and said, we keep pulling from the savings.
right.
We're headed for a disaster. So,
Right. That's not,
Yeah.
that's not, you wouldn't do that with your household budget.
Right.
So,
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. Great job. Okay, Mrs. Trombetta, anything else for the superintendent's report? Okay, thank you. All right, takes us to the approval of minutes. Can I have a motion, please? Stephanie, second by Jessica. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Visitor section. I've got one visitor here, Mr. Burke. Please step up. We've got 3 minutes, and I think you just got to push the button for the microphone.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. I came in 2 weeks ago, and this was in reference to the STAR exemption. And just after listening to the budget analysis here, I really have to tell you, when this fine lady here said about the 3.5 increase for all your employees, I want to point out that being that you're still talking about the STAR exemption, well, my basic salary went down 19% on top of the current inflation. If you have a problem with that, I worked in the private sector for many years. If there's a budget problem, the people that work in Sachem get paid very well. Maybe in lieu of the fact that it's really about the kids, maybe they would be happy with a 1% increase. A lot of people aren't getting increases. I worked for many years without getting an increase in my salary, and we still managed. But I was not very encouraged when I came in last week or 2 weeks ago. I want to thank Michelle here, because she was about the only one that seemed to have any kind of understanding of the situation that seniors are in. And, I'm looking at a lot of you people. You're probably not going to be in the same boat that I am. But, that's irrelevant. You're going to be facing a lot more hardships come the future. But as I said in the last meeting, this has been being debated 17 years. 17 years. And you've been talking about it for the last 3 years. And they're like, well, don't worry, Mr. Burke. We have till March. Well, I don't have till March. I can tell you for the last 2 weeks, it's been miserable, because this is supposed to be the happy time of the year. And it is. It is. I remember what Christmas truly is about. It's about generosity. But I mean, what I felt was that this is just going to be talked, and it's just going to be dragged out through next March. And then what of other seniors like me, what are we going to do? Like I said, I got a 19% cut in my salary because of the tax, because of not getting the star. My car just broke down. Well, you know what? Well, you can manage to find the money out of that come this month, and whatever it is, well, you'll have to find your way. And when I keep hearing a lot of these figures, I'm sure that there's practical ways that money could be found, money could be cut. A 1% raise. Like I said, I went 5 years without a raise, and I had a very good local union that's that I was represented by, and you went without. And you know what? I survived. This is going to make it significantly harder. God forbid that anything should happen to me. If I had any kind of medical problems, I don't know what I'd do. I'd have to sell my home. And, I really almost didn't want to come because it just made me so upset last time that, there's part of me that wanted to really not be sociable, but, that this is Christmas and that's not what it's all about. And I would like to hear what you intend to do on this matter. And I'll skip the rest of my time because it's just it's very difficult speaking here right now. But I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Okay, Ms. Petrosini?
Same subject. Another senior citizen saying, where are we getting the money? Hello again. I was here October 22nd. I was also here and advised last October of 2024 that the item for the senior income limits for the STAR program was proposed for consideration to increase the income limits. No action. Paid extra taxes. You didn't do anything about the income limit, which is $37,400. Now, the state has increased it over the years. Their state limit is $58,400. There's a $21,000 difference there. I don't understand why Sachem can't even progressively increase it to what the state is. Why are you so confident to keep it at 37.4? I don't know. Anyway, again, I came October 2025. I addressed the issue here in person and learned to adopt. You said I had to learn. You needed to adopt changes. You need a resolution following a public hearing. Any changes must be approved. You're reiterating over and over again, no action, no results. You're not problem solving. You're just kicking the can down the road. It was brought up about other districts, oh, well, you're doing so well. I mean, I think the students here are what? Your teachers are 1, you get 12 students to 1. I was reading somewhere in the reports. That's pretty good. Yeah, well, then I don't know what the report is that I was reading. It was all on the Sachem thing. And when I see that you're approving expenditures for a nurse of $135,000 for 2 additional students for one-on-one nursing, $135,000. How much is that? What? Almost $70,000 for a nurse? And you can't even just let seniors, which I think the exemptions for seniors in this Sachem district is 249. I don't know if that number is right or not either, because these are your figures I got out of all your reports. So the STAR program is based on income. I know you're not issuing the state's 58.4, you're still at 37.4. Can you consider increasing the limit, really increasing it to get it in line with what the state limit is? What else? Let's see. Okay, lastly, my issue is like the agenda item. Every time this is brought up, old business, it's under the agenda. I never see any outcome, never see anything. You just say, oh, the board heard comments and concerns from a member of the community. Duh. I came here, I spoke, I had an issue, I wanted a resolution, and you just like
You're approaching your
generically-
3 minutes. Thank you.
All right. Don't want to hear from me. Okay, I'll just get in touch with you, Mr. Burke, if we can exchange.
Thank you, Ms.
telephone numbers.
Petroselli.
I got some good ideas.
Listen, you came at a good night. We're actually going to have this conversation later, so, okay? Allison, any other visitors? That's it? Okay. Moving to section 3, business items, consent agenda A through E. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Rob, second by Stephanie. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item 4, personnel, consent agenda A through J. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Stephanie, second by Sabrina. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I'm going to pass it over. I'm going to pass it over to Stacy at this
Yep.
time. We have some people to congratulate, and she's going to recognize them.
Thank you. This evening, I have the pleasure of speaking on those who are receiving tenure this evening. This evening, we're proud to recognize our teachers and teacher assistants who have earned tenure. So I'm happy to say we have some of them here in the audience today, and some guests with them and administrators. So when I call your name, if you're here, if you could just come on up so we can get a picture, and I have a special pin for each of you. So joining us this evening, we have Ronald Devine. Congratulations. We also have Diana Guidone. We have Daniel Richards. We have Virginia Carey. And Grace Spielman. And unfortunately, unable to join us tonight, but I want to be sure that we recognize her, is Aurelia Arjulapis. I just want to say congratulations on this well-deserved achievement. We're so proud of you and happy to have you here. Thank you.
Okay, takes us to section 5, personnel support staff, consent agenda A through G. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Stephanie, second by Jessica. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Section 6, personnel administrator. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Rob, second by Sabrina. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Let me turn it over to Patty.
We just recognized Mr. Larson just became our deputy superintendent, and I can't think of anyone more deserving of it. Andy's been within the district for 24 years. He started off as a sub, eventually a teacher. He came to district office originally for a little bit and then decided he wanted to go back into the classroom. He's been an assistant principal at both North and East. And then he's also been principal at Sagamore, Hiawatha, and recently at North. He's been up here. This is his second year with us up here as an assistant superintendent. Andy brings to the team work ethic like none other. He has a vision, which is very important for us. And we're going to speak about things and try to continue to make some changes. But his relationships with others is what truly makes him so valuable. He's an asset, a super valuable team member for us. We enjoy working with him. We have a great time and bring some laughter to our meetings and our daily interactions. But I am so proud of him. I'm so excited for him to become the deputy, and I just want to congratulate him. Yeah. Can we also invite Andy's family, who is here, to be part of the picture with him?
Andy, once again, congratulations on behalf of the board. Well deserved, well earned, and we're looking forward to a strong leadership team at Sachem. So thank you. Okay. Section 7, budget transfer, consent agenda A through B. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Mike, second by Meredith. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 8, budget adjustment. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Rob, second by Dennis. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Section 9, Committee on Special Education, consent agenda A through B. Motion by Matthew, second by Stephanie. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to Section 10, monthly reports. Do we have any monthly reports? Stephanie, Legislative Committee, I assume? Okay.
We're actually moving right along. We have a lot of input from our members, which is amazing. We had a meeting with Assemblyman Kwani O'Farrow today that went beyond better than we could ever imagine. He got bipartisan support for the school security bill. He invited us to Albany. He told us he would get a meeting with him and his friends. So I don't know who his friends are, but I'm into that. And it was just overall incredible meeting. We also have a lot of activity by our members, you know, Paul being amazing. And then one of our other members actually is drafting legislation to get funding for academic intervention services. So it's been an impressive legislative committee this year. So I just need to say that. So we're going strong.
Thank you.
And we're meeting with Rebecca Cassay tomorrow as well.
Yes, about the
Thank you.
We're meeting with Rebecca Cassay tomorrow.
about the AIS thing to see if she will, take it on, because it's an incredible legislation.
Great.
And, this is what our committee is doing for us, and I love it. So it's great.
Just a bunch of regular people trying to make change.
And help. And the help has been a lot of help this year. It's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, one of the things we have to do is the legislative breakfast. We probably need to start figuring out who's going to attend. And I'll just put it out there. I'll give my seat up if we want to bring in our student board members or members of the committee. So let's have that discussion soon and figure out who's going. And
I'll give my
Get the
seat up too.
table.
I went a lot. So if we want to send our committee, I would love that, because
yeah,
they
let's
need that
let's figure out what the
experience.
delegation is. And
Yeah.
I think we've got some good,
Yep.
good opportunities here. So any other committee updates? Nope. Okay. Takes us to section 11, closing public comment. Allison, any other visitors? Nope. Okay. Section 12, old business. Any old business we're discussing tonight? Nothing tonight. But go ahead.
I don't know if
Sabrina.
this fits in here, but just a couple things that are newsworthy that we talk about a lot is with the charter schools, that things from the state ed kind of passed the back of approvals that had recently happened. So just to kind of put out there, kind of going along with the legislative too, that, we have to be more vocal, because when they hear it and they see the resistance, and that, we are not for these things in our community because they're taking money away from our district, that we need to kind of stay on top of that momentum to make sure that we're saying it loud and clear. It's totally passing my head right now, but I was watching on the news the other day that there was a local politician who was speaking about these unfunded mandates, and then also with the buses, all of this is coming up, and it's saying how they're the districts going to afford this. So there's definitely this
There's
momentum
momentum,
that's
right?
starting
Yeah.
where everybody's starting
Yeah.
to see, like,
It's great.
you're putting all these costs on the districts and the taxpayer, but we're not getting anything back.
Right.
And we need to start seeing that. Otherwise, they're going to
Right.
start hearing it louder and louder. So
Perfect.
I just think we need to keep that momentum on these things and putting the pressure on our, politicians, our
point.
elected officials to really keep fighting for us and making sure that the taxpayer
Yep.
is not taking on tremendous burdens.
Yep. Michelle, in your presentation, you actually had that percentage of revenues that we have no control over. Can you also talk to us in futures about the expenses we have no control over, and what percentage of our budget is that, right? That would be very helpful for the community to know. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other old business? I think we're good on that, but okay,
Vin,
Dennis.
I think you asked actually last meeting more of like, so we could see the dollar for dollar of
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
money that 90.
Yeah, sort of an
something
anatomy of
percent.
a dollar, right? We have $1. Where does it go? What percentage of each dollar goes where? I
Correct.
think that'd be great for,
We have someone coming at the first January meeting to
Okay.
speak from the town to break down the tax bill
Yep.
and to talk more about that
Equalization,
equalization.
yeah.
and then Michelle, like, so we have a dollar, right? Where does our dollar go, right? X percent goes for salaries, benefits, all that. It'd be interesting
Right.
just for the public to see how we spend a dollar, right?
Absolutely,
And we
I
multiply
can-
it by 400 million, and there's our budget, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, great. Board discussion items. We do have the senior tax exemption on tonight's agenda for discussion. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Michelle, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So at the last meeting, we had the public hearing and the resolution for the volunteer firefighters. And then we said we would use a KCE-ism, if everybody knows what that is. We're going to circle back now to these income definitions and the senior exemption. So in your packets, I included two items. One was this grid that shows other school districts within the three towns that Sachem is in, Brookhaven, Islip, and Smithtown, and where they are currently with their senior exemption. And the other item is the definitions of income that were adopted last year. For the senior exemption, and it's the senior exemption, this is not the STAR exemption. The districts have nothing to do with the STAR exemption. We don't control that at all. This is the seniors and persons with disabilities and limited income exemption that we're talking about tonight. So currently, on that chart that I gave out to everybody, you'll see that in 2009, the income thresholds for seniors and persons with disabilities was set at $29,000 for the full 50% to be fully, that full 50% exemption on the school portion of property taxes. And then it had a phase out period, levels that go up to 37,400. At the 37,400, you're only eligible for 5% of that exemption. And then anything over that, you've lost the exemption. In 2023 was when the state revised these thresholds. And at that point, that's when the towns and counties went to the $50,000 as the starting. Anything between $0 and $50,000, you were eligible for the full 50% exemption. And then it had a phase out period up to $58,400. Anything above that, you would lose the exemption. So we had several districts over the last 2 years decided to do nothing and kind of see where it would, where things would kind of shake out. And some districts jumped on board right away at that highest level, and others did something in between. Now, we meaning in the business office, we have been speaking with our town assessors to kind of get their input and give us some guidance on what we should do and what that impact would be. And while they can't really quantify the impact of the exemption, meaning if you raise the threshold of the exemption and more seniors are now eligible for this exemption, what would that impact be to everyone else? Because that tax burden then gets spread over all other members of your community. What they did tell us is that if you want to make a change, do it in smaller increments. And you'll see at the bottom, I have some other threshold levels that other school districts have adopted that is not the 50,000 and it's not the 29,000. It's somewhere in between. You can set any threshold you want, but it's important to note that once you raise that threshold for the senior exemption, you cannot reduce it. If you raise it 1 year and you say, oh my goodness, it puts such a burden on everybody else, we shouldn't have gone that high that fast, that's it. You cannot change that. So the towns did recommend doing it because you're allowed to make this change every year as long as you have the public hearing and the resolution done by March 1st and you send that information over to the towns, it goes into effect for that next tax year. That's why when we discussed it back in May and then we discussed it in October, it doesn't matter. It's not impacting anything right now because it's not until the next tax year. So we have up until March 1st. So that's where we are with the seniors and disabled persons exemption. The other item we were talking about kind of in conjunction with that were these definitions of income that were adopted last year, where Sachem decided to leave the status quo as is. The towns have indicated to us that if you're concerned about the effect of raising this threshold, if you were to go to the $50,000, what the district could do to kind of offset it a little, it wouldn't, be dollar for dollar, but you can offset it a little by adopting one of these income definitions. And specifically, all the towns were moving towards option number 2, because currently pensions are considered in the definition of income. But annuities, IRAs, and investment type income are not calculated in the definition of income. So the assessors have said to us to bring your retirees kind of like on a level playing field. If you adopted option 2, all retirement income would be considered income in the calculation of these exemptions. So that's where, and that also could go into effect by March 1st, but you would be required to have a public hearing and then do a resolution for that.
And then, Michelle, we as a board actually made a decision on that, right?
Last year, the board decided not to take any action on the income definitions and just leave
it
them
alone, which
the way they
allows
are.
them, retirees, to not include their IRA distributions
Correct,
as income,
IRAs and
saving
annuity.
dollars,
Correct.
right? So we had a choice, one or the other. We went down this route.
Correct.
So, I guess the question that we have to determine is, do we want to stay with that or change it or change this? We can't do both, right?
You can do both.
We could,
You
but-
could do
but-
both.
But,
Right.
it's an impact to the district. So
Right.
let me open it up to the board for questions. Good stuff.
I know we were waiting for info. One of the info was that we couldn't get was that how it was going to impact the other taxpayers, right?
Right, they can't quantify that. One of the things that the town of Islip did tell us was that if the district adopted the $50,000 threshold and adopted option 2, where now the other investment income would be considered income, that would result in about 144 additional seniors being eligible for the exemption.
Okay, and then one last question on it. Well, not last, but second. We have no idea the price of the increase for the rest of the population, but for the seniors and the disabled, this could be a significant increase in allowable
Discretionary
right,
income.
Right,
They
but
would,
it could help like fix someone's car or, get
right,
food.
they would qualify
pay
for
rent.
the exemption.
Right.
Where they would qualify at 50, 40, you don't know. It's based
And if
on
we adopted
individual.
both, does it help the lowest income more? Do you know what I mean? Does that help the people who don't have investments and don't have?
So
in-
if they
right,
don't
so-
have investments and you raise the threshold, then they would be eligible for the, Right.
Right. I don't want to hurt the
correct.
poorest of the community. So if whatever would help them the most would be what I would lean towards.
and we get what's called exemption impact reports. We get them in the fall, and that tells us how many households, how many exemptions there are in the towns. And I can tell you that from last year to this year, town of Islip, by not changing the income definition and leaving the thresholds, the levels the way it was, 46 seniors and 4 individuals with disabilities lost the exemption in the town of Islip, and in the town of Brookhaven, approximately 90 lost the exemption. Town
That's
of
not
Smithtown,
Sachem, that's the county.
those are the towns.
towns as a whole.
The
Right,
towns as a
okay.
whole. And the town of Smithtown only has about 41 individuals that were getting the exemption. They couldn't provide that to us for this year yet.
Meredith, I think you had.
Okay, so all of this stuff really confuses me a lot. So I apologize. It's going to take me a while to get it. But basically, your chart, if my income, if I were a senior and my income was anywhere between $0 and $29,000, I would get a 50% exemption
On the school
on the
portion.
school portion of
your
my
taxes.
taxes. But if my income were 36,000 to 37.4, I would only get a 5%
Correct.
reduction.
Correct.
And that's every single year. You don't have to do anything special. You'll automatically get that.
You have to apply for the exemption every year.
You have to
So-
reapply every single year.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you have a situation where you got a windfall of money one year and you lost the exemption, but that was not the case for the next year, you can apply again for the next year.
Okay. And for me, this stuff this stuff hits home. So yes, Mr. Burke, I totally felt you last week. We had a discussion. I was a single mother and I was homeless with a 2-year-old. So I can tell you that I didn't have a house to pay taxes for, and I didn't have a house to fall back on. And unfortunately, I don't know if you saw when we all came in, we all had gift bags, and these gift bags were for some of the poorest children in our community. And they may not own homes, and they may not live in, some of them live in homeless shelters. We have a large part of our community that actually lives in homeless shelters. So I have to be, as a person that has to make these decisions, I look at seniors and I say, I feel for them. But I will also respectfully say that you have, the reason that you're paying taxes is because you own a home. And I would venture to say that most people's homes these days are worth more than what they paid for them. Not the case for everybody, but on the flip side, if we give this exemption to our seniors, it is then shared between everybody else. And there may be a single mother who's about to lose her home, who has 3 kids. And yes, her kids are getting some things out of our district, but we have to kind of look and try to be fair to everybody. And then, yes, Mrs. Petroselli, you haven't had children that have gone to this district, but you and we appreciate that, but you also have to look at it that if you lived in a different district that was a more struggling district, your house value wouldn't be there. So the school district does it works hand in hand with everyone. And I know I'm not supposed to go back and forth with people, but it works hand in hand for everyone. When your children are in the school, they're benefiting from the things that the school can give them. When your children are out of the school, you can look back and say, well, my children benefited at one point. When you don't have children at all, you say, well, I live in a district where my home value will stay at a certain level, and I can bank on that, and I can one day be able to sell my home for X, Y, and Z. And so it's like I have to look at all of these things. And if we were to raise this a little bit, anything we raise it to, are those people all going to get that 5% exemption? Because I feel like,
Well, it depends what your income is, and it depends on what you raise it to.
because the thing is that right now, if somebody makes 29,000, if we raised it to 40,000, right now, if they make 29,000 or less, they get a 50% exemption. Then we raise it to 40%, they would get a 50% exemption.
And then you do the sliding scale. Each of these categories going down is like within $1,000 increments, and then it goes down to like a $900 increment. But we could set up the same type of table. As you can see, 3 of our neighboring districts have different amounts.
Okay, so we could go up a little bit each year.
And
Do we vote on that every single year?
Yes, you
Okay.
have to vote to change that every year. You need a resolution to change that. And that's what the towns were suggesting. If you're not sure of the impact to your community, then start small. Maybe raise it 5,000 or 10,000, and then do, small increments like that.
And we'll know once we do this, let's say we increase it by 1,000, just the way East Islip did. We'll know immediately the impact, or it'll take us a year to figure that out.
It'll take that tax year to know who was affected by it and by how much.
Okay.
So Islip did it by 11,000. They went from East Islip did it from 29,000 to 40,000.
Okay. And sometimes there are things that don't have anything to do with us, right? That affect our taxpayers. Like the other
We're
day,
only
people were
talking-
screaming that
yeah.
Brookhaven taxes went up.
We're talking the school portion.
Right.
There's on your tax bill, which we have one of the assessors coming to the first meeting in January, where we're going to put like a sample tax bill up and kind of explain how to read it. Anything on your tax bill other than the one that says school taxes is not us.
Okay.
That's your county, that's your town, highway departments, things like that. It is not the school district.
Okay. So we can only control what we can control. But again, we have to look at the flip side and say, if we help our seniors, everybody else is going to feel it a little bit, which is okay. Everybody likes to, help out one another. But, when you sit here, you have to look at the single mother like I was once that was homeless. When you sit here, you have to look at a senior that may not be able to pay for their medication. Like, we have to look at everything. So I appreciate everybody coming and telling us everything, but you have to appreciate when we sit here, we look at all these things and we have to make decisions for everyone.
Any other questions from the board, Rob? And stuff?
Michelle, when we look at this list, school districts from Brookhaven, from Islip, they range from $25,000 to $58,000. How many of these folks did what we did last year, where we did nothing that would impact seniors? How many of them adopted option 2?
I think the majority of districts went with option 2. I don't know of many that took no action the way we did.
So last year, and I apologize, I've been on the board for 18 years. And I know it said we haven't done anything in 17 years, but I don't recall ever having this conversation prior to last year. I don't
No, me
ever
either.
recall ever having this conversation. And I got pretty good memory. Can't remember what I had for dinner last night. I remember 18 years ago, So this is all relatively new to us that they changed the threshold and we did that. But last year, we had quite a few seniors come to our meeting last year that if we had adopted option 2, they would have lost the exemption. The taxes went up $3,000-$4,000. And this board, Mr. Dicerni, kind of drove the concept of, well, listen, why should we penalize seniors? And this board was the only school district that decided not to penalize our seniors, okay, where their taxes would have been impacted by $3,000. So I know that we're being compared to a lot of school districts tonight, and this school district did it. And that, look, I have no problem doing it, but then we need to change the options, and we need to go to option 2, okay? so that the impact is not going to be so tremendous on community. If we want to match what other school districts are doing and we want to eventually get up to 58,400, I'm okay with it. But then we need to change over to option 2. And that's where I'm at.
Steph?
Okay, so question about option 2. You could have a lot of retirement income, like say they have retirement income in the millions, and you could have a little tiny policy that's feeding you an annuity, whatever, that's giving you money to help live. Can we modify option 2 that it goes to a cap or under a cap?
Can't modify
No, it
anything.
has to be all retirement income or none. Sorry, go ahead.
Good, Mike.
Michelle, 401k RMDs would be part of that, right? If you had to take a required minimum distribution from a 401k, that would be just like an annuity.
Yes.
So
yes.
anybody with a 401k, they're forced to take an RMD after 72 and a half.
Yeah.
That could just push them right out of the exemption if we included it.
And that's a lot of seniors, I would imagine, in the community.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's massive. So, yep. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I do.
Meredith?
Is there any way for us to know? Because last year when option 2 was brought up to us, we said, well, we don't want to do that because we heard from a lot of seniors that if we put in their IRAs and all of that stuff, their annuities, that it would push them over and it would cost them $3,000 to $4,000 more per year. And so we said, well, that would be crazy. But is there any way to find out? And I kind of feel like, I don't want to throw anybody else under the bus, but I kind of feel like these other school districts might have increased that limit, that income limit, while they said yes to option 2, because they look to the public like, oh, we're great. We're increasing that like you guys want us to. But then we'll slap you in the face with option number 2. And now everything is going to be included except other than, what you are already including.
I'd venture to guess that's exactly what happened because we
Right.
were getting recommended by the towns that option 2 is
Yes.
where they want us, right? And
Right.
to Rob's point,
They couldn't
we said
believe
no.
that they could not believe that we
Right.
left it status quo.
Right.
with the
Right.
Townships.
So I think that, is there any way for us to know exactly how many households get hurt if we said
That's a
yes to
tough one.
option 2? Because I would
Because we
think it's more.
The towns, seniors, they have to go down and apply for these exemptions.
They
There's
don't
no
know
way
what
to
people's
know
IRAs
what
and
people's
things like that.
Right, there's no way to know.
Okay. Thanks.
Steph?
Do we have a total of how many in each township gets this exemption right now?
Yes. I just had it. Bear with me.
Okay. And then Matthew after.
Here it is. Okay. So for the town of Islip this year, we have 203 seniors and 4 disabled persons. For the town of Brookhaven, we have 29, 30, 232 seniors and 15 disabled persons with limited income. And like I said, I don't have the 2025 data for Smithtown, but last year it was 41 seniors and 3 disabled persons with the exemption.
So this leads to the question that's a low number of people. So giving them an increase without changing option 2 wouldn't not necessarily be that tremendous of a impact on the rest of the population paying taxes.
You don't know how many new people would qualify by changing.
But
the
even if it
threshold.
doubled, how many taxpayers are in Sachem alone, which spans 3 of these districts, but there's
What is it,
60,000?
49,000 households or something?
So if we went up, say we went up to 40,000, that helps our poor and our seniors, right? It helps our disabled and our seniors, but it also isn't that humongous of a jump to where we'll see the impact next year and we can decide whether or not we need to adjust option 2 and or go up even higher or stay where we are.
Wait, did you say go up to the
Like
maximum?
To
or-
40,000, no. Say we gave a little to see the impact. Would we be able to get a report of that impact
I
to the rest
think
of the
the
community? 'Cause
impact would be people coming
I'd
into
hate
the
to
board
sit here and
meetings,
not
yeah.
give a relief to people who are struggling, which winds up being pennies for other people. and it may be saving someone's home because, no matter how much your house is worth, if you can't afford to stay in it, you could lose it. So that could be money that could actually help these people stay in their homes after paying taxes all their life. So I don't want to make a major decision that would impact people's lives over what could be a couple of dollars a year for the rest of the taxpayers.
Okay, Matthew and then Meredith.
So I just want to, just because it was thrown out there, teachers are underpaid for what they do. Teachers have to get master's degrees, pay for it themselves. They have to live where they teach. They have to be able to afford to live on Long Island. And to suggest that their raises get cut or is ludicrous. So I just want to throw that out there.
No, thank you, Matthew. Meredith.
The only way that we could ever see the true 100% impact is if we went straight up to the highest number, right? Because let's say we go up a little bit this year, it may bring 5 extra seniors up. And then if we go a little bit the next year, now 5 more are qualified. So the only way we'd ever really know the 100% impact would be if we went all the way up to the highest number right away.
You're talking the thresholds.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what people's incomes are going to be year to year.
Yeah, so it can
it
change.
changes every year. It
Right.
changes every year. So that's why it's so difficult to quantify.
Right. And once you put it in place, you can't take it
You
away.
can't
So-
lower it. You can increase up to the maximum, but you can't lower it.
So it looks like it could be just a couple dollars per household, but it might actually be even more than that. And you won't know. Everybody retires, more people retire every single year.
Dennis.
So we're just going to talk in circles. So it's either, at some point, someone's going to be affected and have to pay for this. So if we give the seniors a break, yes, the other taxpayers have to pay it. If we don't give them a break, then the seniors have to pay it. So at some point, maybe if we're going to do something, I don't disagree with the gentleman that we've been talking about this for 4 years. Then let's make some kind of decision, whether we step it up. Maybe we, I'm guessing that your recommendation, if we're going to go, is not to go to the top because then we can't go back.
'Cause then you
So
can't go-
let's step something up a little bit. We help some of those people out without maybe hurting a ton of people in our community.
Okay.
That's
So where do we
I
want to
was-
take this discussion? Because I don't know what other questions we have, but I want to sort of start winding this down and figure out, do we need to take a leaning now?
You'll need a leaning because then we'd have to have a public
Public
hearing
hearing
and a
and a
resolution
resolution,
by
right?
March 1st.
Okay. So is there a leaning we want to take around increasing? There's a couple of decisions, right? Do we keep both of these? Do we take option 2 off the table? Do we increase the income limit? So let's, Steph, if you've got a,
Question or?
yeah, you have a question? Go ahead. And then we'll
We
take
have
a
10
leaning.
other districts that went up to the max. Can we get info from them to find out how it impacted their taxpayers, or they won't share? Right? If I'm reading the chart correctly, there's 10 other school districts that went to the max.
I can reach out to
But
see.
they
I
also
mean,
did option 2.
yes, they also did
all of
option
them did
2.
option-
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right.
So-
Okay.
so-
Right,
Right.
right. I get that.
So
I'll
to
go
Dennis's,
first.
so
I'll
to
go
Dennis's point,
first.
yeah, do we have a recommendation on where we want to bring the limit up to?
That's where I think, how would we step it up? I would say should do it over a 7 to 10 year span. I wouldn't jump on anything in 2 years, 3 years. I mean, to me, it's got to be something that's got to be over 5 to 7, 10 years. even.
So would you want to do something similar to what the 2 columns, either the 39.5 or the 40 or something in between
I
that?
would go to 40,000 and not touch any option 2 or anything. If we're going to do that. But if you're going to go higher, then we have to talk about doing option 2.
Okay, so Rob,
I looked at the 2 school districts that touch us, Connecticut and 3 Village. Right? Those are our surrounding districts. One's at 37,400, that threshold. The other one's at 47,900. That average is 42,650. And if we want to take the average of the 2 school districts that touch us and see how that impacts us for next year, I would be okay with that. But I agree with Dennis that if we're going to go higher than that, then we have to consider option 2.
see, I'll be honest, I'm not willing to take option 2 off the table. I like that one. I'm going to stick on that one. But, if we want to move it, it's a slight uptick. But option two, I think, is going to affect a lot more people than this. I think that's going to have detrimental impacts to many people that we don't even know about. We're hearing from a handful of people. This has the potential to affect a wide audience in our district.
And Rob, those two districts couldn't be more different. Like Connect Quad is very similar to us income wise, you know, that blue collar person, and Three Village, like even their taxes there are a lot more than we pay here. So I couldn't see kind of, I would like to go up to 40,000 and see where we go from there, see how impactful it is.
Hey, Mike, let's just go around the horn. Any thoughts? Sabrina, I'll jump over to this side. And we'll-
If we're going to take option 2 off the table, which I don't think we should if we're going to be
Right.
raising, I would like to go with the smallest increase right now, which right now looks like this middle country. No,
You can make it anything you
you can
want.
make it anything you want.
Anything you want.
If we're not going to do option 2, then it should be minimal, in my opinion, and see the impact of how many people move within that. And then after that, if we still are going to move up more, then option 2 has to come back. If we're going to jump to the highest, then we're going option 2 because we have to do what all the other districts do because they basically cancel each other out.
Jess?
So it would be a very minimal.
So
for me.
minimum
Right,
increase,
enough to
hold
kind
off
of start to see
yeah,
what it's
see what's
going to be, but not
Yep.
enough where all of a sudden we can't go back. And then, like Meredith said, we are affecting other people in our district who are taking on the cost.
Jess?
I would be in favor of a conservative increase, knowing that if we had to revisit option 2 down the road.
Okay. Yep. Matthew?
Yeah, exactly what Jessica just
Same.
said. Yeah.
Okay. Steph?
I would support an increase. I don't think to hurt our community because other school districts are doing it with taking away option 2 is we did that last year to protect our people who are struggling, and to just do it because then another side gets. I'm not into that. I'm into raising the exemption.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I would take the average. I mean, you know, it's a 42,000, whatever I said, 42,400 is not that big of an increase, and at least we'll be able to gauge the impact that it has. You know, that's why I picked those two. I mean, I don't see Patrick on here, so those are the two school districts that touch us.
Okay. Dennis? Meredith?
I'd like to go 40,000, but keep option 2. Leave it alone.
Leave it
Don't touch
alone.
it.
Yep. Mike, you've been thinking hard. Go ahead.
So I got a question. If the threshold we adopt is for the 50%, and then there's a sliding scale as it goes. So we're talking about the 50%. So people would still get exemptions. If we said 40,000, it would look more like the East Islip side, right? Where you get 50% at 40.
Right.
And then
It
up to
goes an
48, you get
increase of
5%.
8,400.
Right. So if we took Rob's number 42, right, that would be like 42 to, I guess, 50, right? That would be, you'd get something at 50,000.
It would be $51,050 with the 8,400.
So
We have to what? Do a resolution?
So the,
Raising her hand.
Mr.
Yep.
the-
As Mike is still thinking,
Oh,
comment?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Michelle?
So just at the end of this, if you tell me a level to start at, then we would need to schedule a public
Yep.
hearing.
Public hearing.
And then at a subsequent meeting, then we could do the resolution if they still want to be open to discussion and possible scenarios. So that's why
Yeah,
we
I-
need to leave ourselves time.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask this, you know, if we do the public hearing, do we want to do the resolution in the same night? Or I would suggest we do a public hearing and then do the resolution at another date, because we don't know what that public hearing is going to bring out. So, okay. So it sounds like we're at anywhere from 40 to the average, as Rob said. Look at that as a leaning, and maybe that's what we bring out to the public hearing, keeping option 2 intact.
So I will, in the Friday packet, put both of those
Okay.
thresholds with the full sliding scale so
Yep.
you can see what those income levels will be.
Okay.
Vin, you said not keeping it intact.
Keeping
Keeping it off the table.
Keeping it off the table,
Okay.
off the table. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're good? Mike, did you have any? You're good? Okay. Want to make sure. Let her give her both numbers and we can figure it out. All right. Okay. Okay, takes us to future discussion items. Oh, boy.
I think that's what Sabrina's saying.
Oh.
Sabrina's
We
saying.
need, yeah, we
Hold
need,
on.
we need to know the number.
Because Michelle
okay.
needs to know
She's
where
gonna
she
give a
needs to do a
sliding
sliding
scale.
scale.
Like,
from.
I'm
All right,
good
so
with 40.
what number?
I was I was kind of.
We got 40 or the average?
I was going to say 42.5.
42.5.
6, 7,
Okay,
46, 7.
got 1 and 1. Matthew?
Which one?
42.5.
42.5.
Rob? 42.5. Oh, that's it. That's good, right?
42.5 is good with me.
42.5.
I guess 42.5, but I don't like that we're averaging in a community that's extremely wealthy.
Which one's what?
Free Village.
I didn't say 3 Village.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you
We're
did. You
talking
said
middle,
Connecticut and
middle
Three
country and Connecticut.
Oh, I thought you said Three
No,
Village.
middle country and Connecticut.
You did say Three Village.
just for,
But ultimately, you're finding the percentage.
Ah,
The difference
okay.
from
Just
where
for
we
the record,
are
though,
to the
they're
top
not that
threshold, we're
wealthy.
doing a percentage on that number. It has nothing to do with our neighboring. That's what Rob
Okay, so
said.
if he's good
But
with
if you
that,
look
then
at the
I'm good-
difference
then I'm good
between
with
them and connect the
42.5.
percentage.
42.5. Mike? All right, Michelle, 42.5 is the number. Thank you. We're good? Okay. All right, we're done with that board discussion item. Let's go to future discussion items. I'm afraid to ask.
Sorry, Meredith.
Let's go with, let's go with, let's go to Meredith.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna fly one of my crazy ideas and see if you guys are
Let's
on
go to
board.
Stephanie. No.
She gets crazy ideas too. Is there a way that we could, in the future, you don't have to do it tomorrow, make it something that every 11th and 12th grader in our district needs to attend a board meeting once between 11th and 12th grade? They will get some kind of credit in their math class or their education class or something like that, civics class. Because I think that everyone in a community should know how a board meeting works. And like, I didn't know how a board meeting works until I got on the board. And I think it would be great for everybody to learn how it works. And so if we
Mr. Burke.
so if we have every kid that comes through our
Is that legal?
school district has attended a board meeting, then no matter where they go, no matter where they live, because actually board meetings on a whole are pretty similar. But I found out the other night that like some boards get paid. We don't. Others do. They get paid, they get a pension, and they get health care. We don't. We get water. But like I think it would be great for people to learn how a board meeting works. And if you kind of make them go as a part of their class and they get credit for it, then
We can talk about that with our chair people
Yeah.
and see how we can incorporate that into the curriculum. It's a matter of keeping track of who's
yeah.
attended.
So
and
when
all
they
that,
come
but
here, one of us
it's
will
just-
sign their paper. They have to have a paper.
We could
They'll
bring a
hand it
machine.
back
They could-
in.
They could scan in.
So we can
Yeah,
definitely talk
could
about that
scan.
with our chair people and see where we could try to fit that in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Vinny. Meredith,
Steph. Oh,
could-
Matt?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you talking about like for community service type thing?
No, like it's part of their curriculum. Every student that comes through Sachem will graduate having attended a
Part of
board
what,
meeting.
part of what class though? Like a
Well, it could be civics,
like
it could be math, it could
civics
be
class?
if they're in an education field, all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have any,
Absolutely.
and they would have any time between the day school started and the week before it ended to complete that. So there's plenty of board meetings that they can come to. I know everybody's got schedules, but it'll also teach them that they have to make priorities, just like, we all make our priorities.
I thought that was going to be crazier. So
Thank you.
it's not so bad.
Great. Steph?
Extra credit maybe for a test they missed or forgot to do a project.
No, not
Uh,
No,
Making it, I just
kids.
want to, we can
I'm
certainly
teasing.
talk to the
I'm
curriculum people,
Yeah.
but making someone come doesn't mean they're going to benefit from coming.
Agreed.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, but at one,
We can certainly talk to them, but making them sit in the audience doesn't mean they could just sit there and.
no, I know, but they could sit in class and kind of not pay attention either. But I'll watch them
Daniel,
if they don't pay attention.
Got a feedback on this one?
Yeah, I think if it was extra credit, it would be good. Like for like maybe a homework grade, a quiz grade, something like that. Like that would make kids want to go, especially
Yeah.
you know the ambitious
But the
kids who are
slackers
looking for
won't
good
come.
grades.
I want the slackers here.
Yeah, they probably won't, but yeah, that's fair.
Dan,
But
you
the slackers aren't going to get anything out of it
Yeah.
anyway.
You never know.
You also
I
have to
was a
take into-
slacker. I dropped out of high school and now I sit on the board. So
You also have to take into
Slackers just might need to-
consideration
yeah.
of children's ability to get here. And
Yeah.
if they're unable to get here, how would that affect them? So there's a lot of factors that would go into that. So as an extra credit or a teacher maybe giving them a question from the board meeting that they could watch online. But I think physical, you're putting kids into a position where maybe they wouldn't be able to complete that because of time and ability to get here.
Any other future discussion?
have a
items? Go
real
ahead.
one now.
Oh, boy, go
Yeah,
ahead. Let's
sorry.
go.
We need a date for the legislative roundtable. We actually have elected officials asking us if we're doing it again because they enjoyed it. So if that could be discussed. And then also if there's dates for the Albany trip, we've been invited up. So now we have to do it. So
Okay.
There's that.
Okay.
And that's future.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Anything else, guys? Okay. At this time, I need a motion to go into exec session for the purpose of discussing our potential real estate transaction. Can I have a motion by Jess, second by Matthew? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. On behalf of the Board of Education and the administration, I just want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and a happy and healthy New Year. And we'll see everybody in 2026. Thank you, everybody.